Hi, Helen. Welcome. All right. So I think we'll get going, respecting everybody's time here. So as I was saying, yep. So we start. Welcome, everyone. My name is Nahid Khan, and I wish each and every one of us a very, very happy Women's Day. Today's, I won't say it's a session, I would rather say it's a conversation which I'd like to have with all of you. It's a conversation in which we will be talking about certain things, in which we will be discovering certain things and reflecting on certain things. Self-love, that's what we are supposed to talk about today. Self-love. What do you understand the concept of self-love being? I mean, all of us, we've been always taught about love, about how we should be loving, about how we should be caring, about how we should be this, we should be that. But where does that loving start from? What is self-love all about? What do we mean when we say self-love? Is it only taking care about our appearance? Is it only being appreciative of ourselves? I mean, that's something which hardly any of us do on a regular basis until unless we actually remind ourselves to do that. But when we do that, we have this underlying belief that, if I praise myself too much, I become selfish, or I become proud, or I become self-centered. And then we think, because we've been told how to be loving, that loving comes with giving. When I am loving, then I am loving towards my family, I'm loving towards others, and loving comes with sacrifices. We associate that with that when we love someone, we have to compromise, we have to give up certain things, we have to change certain things in ourselves. When we change, how much of ourselves do we identify with? And most important question, are we happy with that change? Because when we change for someone else, what about ourselves? What do we do to ourselves? So starting with, I would like to ask you, on an individual perspective, on your own perspective, what do you associate self-love with? I would love it if you could please take a pen and paper. If you're happy to share your answers, it would be great. If you're not, take a pen and paper and please write these answers. The questions that I'll be asking you today, the points that we will be discussing, just take a note and reflect later once we are done with this call. But for now, if I were to ask you, and anybody is welcome to come and give me an answer to this, what is self-love?
To me, self-love is all about accepting ourselves as an individual and not just the one who has to do things, giving that much of priority to our own self as well, and embracing the way we are, not from the perspective of others, but from our own perspective.
Brilliant.
Once we have accepted ourselves and we take priority of our own self, then I think self-love starts.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. Thank you, Anamika. Thank you so much. Frieza says, self-love to me is respecting self, which includes my own thoughts and needs. Absolutely true, Frieza. That's exactly what it should be. It should be that respect for yourself without any boundaries, any limitations. Boundaries for self that we create. Anybody else?
Yes. Self-love is love of self.
Absolutely, darling.
And it's so easy for, I mean, I see there's lots of women here, and it's so easy for us to, as women, if we are mothers, we believe that we have to love our children before us. And I have learned over the years not to do that, to love myself first so I can love my children better.
Very good. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you, Deepika. Yes, self love means loving myself for what I am, being confident in what I do. Fariza, it's easier said and done for a lot of people because we say this to ourselves. It's so difficult to do this. We say this to ourselves. It's so difficult to find time for myself. We are the ones who are making this choice of putting ourselves after our children, our family, our work, our, our responsibilities. We make this choice consciously. And then we say, it's so difficult to do that, to love ourselves. Exactly. That's right, Helen. You have to choose yourself even when others don't. Why do we wait for others to give us the permission to prioritize ourselves? Why do we look for that permission from others that we should do this for ourselves, should do that for ourselves? What makes us do that? That's because we associate everything with patterns. What patterns? We have seen our parents be like this. They gave everything, every importance to their children, to the society, to the family members, to their work. It was all about the external. We have seen patterns where the internal was the least concern area for anyone. It was all about what will others think? Are they happy? Are they fulfilled? Are they doing this? Are they in agreement with me? Am I being accepted? Am I being accepted? That question. What makes us ask that question? It is that pattern which has been set inside us right from the childhood, where we look for acceptance from others. But what we are never taught in our life, excepting in some cases where I have seen families do this, they teach the child, accept yourself for who you are. Accept with your flaws, accept with your imperfections. Don't strive to become like someone else. Be confident in who you are. That is the foundation where self-love grows. Most of our cases, our foundation was comparison. And this was well-meaning comparison which used to happen in our school days, grades. When we were given grades, when we used to get our test results, when we used to get our exam results, and we used to say, all right, she got more than me. I couldn't do better in this. She's done so much better, or he's done so much better. And our teachers used to say, well-meaning concern again, that, everyone else is moving forward. What makes you stay behind? You should do more. You should put in more. Your peers are moving ahead. Your peers are doing so much better. All of these words, somewhere or the other, they stayed within us. The conscious mind, we all have the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, a little bit of knowledge on that. The conscious mind, which does all the thinking, which is the creative mind, that makes us think in these patterns which were set in our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind has been taking in all the information from the external world since the time that we were 3 months old. Good, bad, it doesn't judge. Right, wrong, it doesn't put the label on. It just takes everything in. So even the negatives have been taken in. And we apply all those patterns in our thinking pattern today. And we never questioned what makes me compare myself with anyone else. What makes me think less or think more even to anyone else? See, comparison, whether it is you are comparing yourself less to anyone else or even more to anyone else, is not good. Because when you compare, your own control of your self-acceptance is dependent on someone else. So it's very, very important to understand what are these patterns that we are running on. Where are these patterns coming from? What makes me think the way I think? This is a question which I would request you to write down and ponder over as much as you can whenever a thought comes to you. What makes me think I'm weak? What makes me think I don't look good? What makes me think I'm fat? What makes me think I'm not confident enough? What makes me think I can't speak well? Anything and any thought which comes to you, question that thought. Because when you question it, you unravel those patterns. And when you are getting those patterns out, is when you can understand that it's not your reality. It's based on opinions. It's based on somebody else's viewpoint, somebody else's talk, somebody else's thought. It's not you. Removing these patterns, remove the blocks which you've created to love yourself and accept yourself. So removing these patterns is what you need to look at. Understanding on what patterns you're running on, and the mind absolutely and always runs on patterns. Every single thing, we may think that we are thinking, this is my own thought, but even your own thought has some kind of an influence which comes from somewhere. What are these influences? One of the major influence which I've seen, which people do, is they associate pleasure with pain. Let me give you a small example here. If I ask any one of you here, anyone, who likes getting pricked with an injection? Anybody out here who'd like to get pricked with an injection? I don't think so. I mean, yes, of course, we take it when it's a necessity, but would you like to do it just for the sake of it? Just for the fun of it? But look at those drug addicts. Look at them pricking themselves again and again and again, even with blood oozing out of them. They don't stop. Their veins going black, they don't stop. Because in their mind, they have associated pleasure with that pain. What happens after that prick is what their mind associates. So that prick has lost the pain, and that pain has become pleasure for them. Now look at in your life all those times when you have done something like that to yourself, when you've associated pain as pleasure, when you've associated feeling sad as being your destiny, when you've associated sacrificing as something which you need to do, which you have to do. The only thing that you have to do is what you choose to do. So if you have chosen to associate pain with pleasure, then it's a choice which you've done. How many times in your life have you felt a heartbreak? Have you felt that pain of not being appreciated? That pain of not being accepted? That pain of not being acknowledged? That pain of always being disregarded or regarded or the least priority for anybody else? You know why they put you in the least priority list? Because you've put yourself in the least priority list. People will only treat you the way you treat yourself. So if you have associated pain with pleasure, then that's what others will give you, because they feel this pain gives you pleasure. So for them, it won't be a pain. It will be something which you like. You like not being asked. You like not being consulted. You like not being acknowledged. I mean, that's fine. She'll understand or he'll understand. She's always like this. He's always like this. Because they will expect, they will assume you will understand, because that's how you've always been. So you are the one who's taught them that you associate this pain with pleasure. So just write down in that piece of paper, how many of those pains that you take on a regular basis are things which you chose because you enjoy doing them, because they bring you happiness? Or is it all those things because it makes my husband happy, it makes my children happy, it makes my boss happy, it makes my family happy? I have to wake up at 8 in the morning, at 6 in the morning, and cook breakfast for everybody. Why? Because that makes my family happy. I want to take care of them. Why? Your family can't make their own breakfast. You are a working person too. You have your other responsibilities, and it's food which is going in their stomach. Aren't they responsible for feeding themselves? Where does this belief come from that I have to be the one to provide breakfast to everybody? That I have to do, this is my responsibility. Taking care of yourself is your responsibility, just like it is the responsibility of every other person. Where did you associate this pain with pleasure? And is it pleasure? For some people, yes, they love doing it. Good. But do we all love doing it on a regular basis, even when we are not feeling well, even when we are not up to it, even when we are swamped with other work? We have to finish a deadline at work, so we are working till late at night. And then in the morning again, we have to get up and do this because my son expects it, my husband expects it. What about your expectations? Yes, Helen.
Then I love serving my son, making him breakfast. However, then if I feel that he is not valuing it, is it wrong of me to stop it?
Not at all. Not at all. See, as I said, people will treat you the way you treat yourself. If you don't give yourself that value, that worth, you will not get it from anybody else. They'll take you for granted. And we are not saying that, you go out there and tell them, I do this much for you and I do that. No, that's wrong. Because they didn't tell you to do it. You did it yourself. So you can't blame anybody else that I am doing this much for you. Nobody takes care of me. Nobody's concerned about me. Are you concerned about yourself, that you're asking others to be concerned about you? Where is that self-love?
And we model what we do. And our children might not listen, but they might see it, what we do. And then they might continue doing this if they are not aware later on.
Absolutely. Because children don't do what they are told. They do what they see. That's the simple truth. That is how the mind learns patterns. It doesn't learn. Your parents may have told you, don't do this, don't do that. But what you see is what the mind registers. And that is the pattern in which you will live your life. So whatever you are doing today, if you're not enjoying it, just sit down and reflect. Did you see your parents doing it? It may not be the exact same actions, but just see the pattern. Just see the pattern in the intent. Just see the pattern in the results. Just see the pattern behind those emotions, behind the thoughts. If you think, I've got this 17-year-old girl that I'm coaching. She was into depression. When she came to me in January, she's out of it. Thankfully, she stopped her medication. She's much, much better. She's preparing for her boards. She's looking forward for her college education, which she wanted to give up. And everything that she says, every single thing that she says is a complete reflection of how her mother speaks. Because I spoke to the mother. I've also, when I do these coaching sessions, I usually get the family involved. So I've spoken to the mother and I've heard the mother. And the way the mother doesn't value herself, puts everybody else first, and then comes and says that I am tired of doing this. The daughter is doing the same thing. She is putting her mother before her. And then she comes and says that I'm tired of doing this. I don't see a future for myself. They model. Although her mother wants her to do, become financially independent, become somebody in life, take care of her own self. But the girl is not ready to do it because in her mind, she's following the exact pattern that she's seen her mother do. So even if she's out of depression, she's still mentally still stuck in those patterns. Because for her, her mother, she's very close to her mother. She's like, unconsciously just repeating those same patterns, and she's not happy. She's not happy at all with what she's doing, but she's associated that pain with pleasure unconsciously. So reflect on those decisions that you're not happy taking, whether it is about yourself, about your work, and then reflect what makes you do it. What is that pattern? Where is it coming from?
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I've been hearing all this, but I guess in my case, it's a bit of an opposite because I can feel, thankfully, that whatever it is that I've been doing is appreciated. Husband, parents, children, okay, but I find it hard for me to forgive myself. I have been a stay-at-home mom, baking from home for the past baking 3 years, working from stay-at-home mom for 7, and I regret having left my job. I feel like I have lost my self-worth. Um, Fariza Fazil used to be a name that is associated to being good at writing or marketing, but now I don't do marketing or writing. I mean, yeah, as much as I would like to, and I have lost myself, and I find it hard to forgive myself for having left that, So yeah, it's the regret part and not for being able to forgive myself. When you mentioned earlier that it's a pattern where I see my parents doing it, my mom doing it, for example. She's a full-fledged career woman. She has retired from work well and everything. I guess and I see her comfortable, and I'm afraid that I may not be as comfortable as how she is. So again, it's all like I'm hitting myself. Nobody else is. In fact, my parents are not really making a big deal because they're actually kind of enjoying the flexibility that I have, can visit them often. But it's me is kind of being mean to myself, I must say. So I don't know how. I've been hearing people say, you have to accept yourself, to forgive yourself, make peace with what you have now, look at the bright side and look at the qualities that you have. I find it really hard to do that because I can't help but to look back at what I was and what I am now.
That's exactly what it is, Farisa. And that's where we were moving on. Because when we have these patterns, when we follow these patterns, we have these regrets later on in life. And when I was talking about patterns, see, there are some actions. If I come to my own example, my mom is a stay at home mom completely. When she wanted to do something in her life, she didn't know it then, she knows it today because she doesn't like the way that she is. When I was studying, she always used to tell me this, become independent. And when I used to look at her, in the beginning, I used to model her. And then slowly and gradually, Frieza, I discovered that I don't want to be her. She's the most wonderful and most loving person on earth, but I don't want to be her. I wanted to be my own person. And she always supported that. She always said, become independent. But at the same time, at a point of time in my life, when my family wanted me to do certain things, she stood with that. She didn't ask me to give up anything, but she asked me to accept something which I didn't want to accept. She followed that pattern. I never wanted to be her. When I had my kid, after years of being in a working professional, when I felt pregnant, I took a sabbatical. And I took a sabbatical for more than 3 years because I wanted my child. So when my child was born, I wanted to be with my child and make his foundation very strong because I didn't want my child to have any of those things in my life that I had to go through. This is another pattern that we don't want our children to have what we had. We don't want them to go through what we went through. So I don't want to be like my mother. I don't want to be like my father. I want to give my children these things. I want to give them my full 100% attention, my focus. My mother was a stay-at-home mom and I didn't want to become like her. But when I had a child, I wanted to, because in the last 8-9 years that I was working, I was a workaholic. And I knew that if I keep working, I'll neglect my child. So I made that decision. And by the second year ending, it started getting too much for me because I had always been a working person. And my mom started asking me, when are you going to get back to work? When are you going to get back to work? And I was like, my child's too small now. And she's like, yeah, he needs you right now. You need to, there were mixed communication coming from her because she used to ask me, when are you going to get back to work? And then she used to be like, don't neglect your child, always be there for him, because that's what she had done. So she had these conflicting views and she used to pass them on to me. I had these conflicting views, but the thing which was very clear in my mind is that I don't want to become like my mother, and I don't want my child to have those things which I went through. So these patterns also, which when we were young and we used to not get certain things be registered. When I have a child, my child will get this. My child will not have a scarcity for this. My child will not miss his dad or his mom. This is also a pattern which we have programmed. So when we make those choices later on, those choices are based on a lot of influences which come from our past. And we make those decisions in the present moment based on those influences from the past. And we see our future and we look at our past and we say that, okay, in my future, I'm not having my past. Whether it is to do something to do with my kids, with my parents, with whatever it is, any behavior, I don't want my future to have anything from my past. So we make these decisions, these choices on half influenced behavior, patterns, whatever you want to call it. We've not thought through them. We just have these influences, these patterns in which our mind is thinking, and we see our present and we see our future in the same pattern. Because we've not changed those patterns. We've not changed our own thinking. We are still thinking on the same paradigm. So when I'm thinking on the same paradigm and I make my choices in my present, my future is certainly impacted by that, which happened in your case, which happened in my case. I got back in my career by 7 years because of that 3 year sabbatical. I know that if I wouldn't have taken that today, I would have been in a different place, in a different trajectory. But I did make those choices. I was very angry. I went through a postnatal depression, which was very bad. But then I did realize one thing, it was my choice. I chose to give up that job. I chose to take that sabbatical. So, good or bad, it was my choice. What matters most is, Fariza, what happens when I identified it was my choice? Did I then sit with that regret? Or did I get up and choose to change it? We make those choices. You don't need to accept always to forgive. Sometimes you just need to adjust to forgive. Adjust with the changes that you've made in your life. Adjust with whatever you've done. See, the past is gone. The present today will tomorrow become your past. What you do in the future will be dependent on the choice that you make today. So, what are you doing today? What are you choosing today? That is what is most important. When you make your decisions about the future based on the past, you will always have regrets. So look at the past, take the learning from there. Make your present more wise, more knowledgeable. And then from this space, look at your future. What do I want? And then make your choices based on what you want. Because all those choices which you made in the past, which today you are regretting, were what you wanted. So what stops you from doing that in the future? Why are you still functioning on those same choices which were right 7 years ago? Are they right today? And what stops you from changing it? From making another choice, looking at the future that you want now, the future for yourself, for your children. And you don't have to go ahead and do something very big, something very drastic. Start with small steps. You are a writer, start with writing maybe one article a day or in a week or in a month. The important thing is that the brain is just like any other machinery. If you don't take action for too long, it rusts. And we think, I cannot think like the same old me. I cannot do the same old things. But believe me, that sabbatical that you've taken, that experiences which you've had in your life, they have only made you become better and grow. So today, when you start writing, and you will write, and you will look at yourself 7 years, what you used to do, and today what you've done, you will see your quality being 10 times better than what it was. Because now you are more wiser. Yes, Helen. You'd like to say
I just
something?
want to congratulate Farisa for having the awareness of where you are today and what you were before. But today you are, like Nahid said, today you are more than you were then. And maybe you didn't lose anything, but you gained something so much more. So much more. You know, being a mother staying home, I'm a mother of 4. And when I see my oldest daughter and I have a granddaughter, I have to admit to the things because I was a career woman and I did so many things. But now I have to admit to them because even as a parent, we do things wrong, or at least what I thought, because I was modeling something that my daughters had feel without I'm telling them, but they felt that they had to do the same to be a career woman, to be a strong woman. They had to do what I did. No. But I am telling them now, no, what you're doing is enough, and care about yourself first, because I didn't. But there's something I don't regret, because if I wouldn't have done it, maybe I couldn't model and for them to embrace something different. And by you doing this now, what you have gone through, I'm 100% you're going to become somebody even more when you allow yourself.
Thank you, Helen. She said it beautifully. And you know what's more important, Fariza? When you are doing this, what you're doing today, your children are seeing this and they are learning this. So tomorrow, like I have a son, and my son knows that he can come to me and ask when he's hungry for food. And if I'm busy, he can go and ask his dad. There's no difference here. He knows that if mama's busy, daddy can put me to bed. There's a complete equal understanding of responsibilities with my son. That's because that's how we are. That's how we work. We don't neglect any one of us, but we also give priority because we give ourselves that priority. So he is learning this. So tomorrow, I am sure when he has a wife, she's going to bless me for this. Yeah, sure.
So, sorry if I'm interrupting.
No problem.
So here, when you're talking about your son, I can see now that the routine, the pattern is being broken. What kind of images we pick up in our childhood.
Yep.
Your son probably would have a much more positive image when he will be an adult. Something in regards to that only I want to ask. I have a daughter, and here I have heard each one of us talk about how there is a regret or a vacuum or something about lack of fulfillment because of the choices we have made, whether it was your mom, whether it's you, whether it's my story, whether it's Farija's story. Everybody has that, and whatever we chose at that point was not necessarily what was the ultimate best thing, but we chose to make everything work for the family, for ourselves, for our career. And then eventually what happens is a vacuum at some point. And then what you said makes a lot of sense, that your kids will say, but we never asked you to compromise yourself.
Absolutely.
We never asked you to do it. So there is a pattern here also in our thinking, which we realize at maybe a later stage of our life. I don't want my daughter to have that, because all of us do it. Your mom has done it, your grandma might have done it, my mom has done it. All of us have put ourselves secondary at some stage, not just because we wanted, but because we felt that was right, and still
that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and still that vacuum lingers on, however we might feel to compromise it with something else. I don't want my daughter to do it, so what should be the right way of groom her?
Simple. Always remember this. As I said, look at your past and make your present wiser. So when we come to our daughters, telling them that, if it's not something which you don't like, don't do it. Making them independent decision makers from a very young age, Anamika, is very important. We as parents have a tendency of making decisions for our kids because we know we want them to be safe, we want to protect them, we want them, they should not get hurt. I say let them get hurt. Be there to hold their hand, but let them get hurt, because that's when they will start taking care of themselves. What we didn't do because our parents always cocooned us, and on those traditions, it's a choice again, which what your daughters learn and do in the future will depend on the choice that you make to give them as values today. Are you giving them the values of being independent decision makers? Are you giving them the values of putting yourself before traditions, before culture, before norms, all of those things? That was not what we were taught. We were taught the society, culture, traditions before us. What are you giving them? Follow those traditions, take those cultures with you, but not at the cost of you. This is a message which only parents can give to their children. Be yourself, not at the cost of anybody else. That should be something which we have to, this is all based on the values that we give to our children at this time. and especially in this time today. Because becoming mentally strong is the prerequisite today. The way that we were, they will not be able to survive in the world today. And we are seeing that happening with all the teenage cases of so many depression cases, so many mental health issues with teenage kids. The suicide rate in teenage has gone high like anything because they have seen this pattern of their parents, you know, even today. And I'm telling you this, parents are not telling their kids that they want them to become doctors or they want them to become somebody very successful or anything. Kids have these expectations from themselves now because of these patterns that they have seen. So today the kids themselves, even if the parents are not comparing, the kids are comparing themselves. They are doing that. It's not about now only what they have seen, but it's also about what they are being told. So it's very important that the communication channels between the kids and the parents becomes even much more than what it was earlier. And communicating to them that you are a strong individual who can make your own life choices. Good or bad, we are there with you. If it's bad, we will tell you. We will direct you. But we will not make your choices for you. So go out and do it. You have us standing right behind you to guide you. But we are not going to make those choices for you. That's the stepping stone that you need to give your kids to groom, because the moment they start doing this, you will see a transformation in your daughters. Putting themselves as priority. When you see them making decisions in which they are not, guide them then, correct them then. If you were not happy, why did you do it? What made you do it? That's something which only a mother can do. Does that answer your question? Because this pattern that we have, which is right here on the screen for you to see, of the past and the present and the future, this is how the mind works. Whether it is us, whether it is tomorrow going to be our children, this is the pattern. So if you know this pattern, where your body may be in today, but your mind is in yesterday, if they know this pattern, if you can teach them this pattern, that's all they need to do. That's all you need to do. And if you understand and identify with this, then you understand every time that you make a decision, every time that you regret a decision, just identify what made you do that, what made you choose that. If it was because it happened in the past, that's when you need to stop and change it. Start thinking from your present, looking at your future, not looking at your past. What's gone is gone. What's to come is what you need to be concerned with. As I was saying, I just want to wrap up what makes us think on these patterns. It's the cultural influences, the family influences, the individual perceptions. Sometimes we, as I said, we may not have been told that this is right, this is wrong, but we have made a perception based on maybe the movies that we've seen, based on maybe the society that we are in, the things that we have watched our elders or our family members do, or maybe happening in the society, in our region, in our country, in our state. It doesn't matter. We start making individual perceptions, because every single human being has got a different behavioral attribute, unique behavioral attributes, behavioral competences, behavioral understanding. We all have a unique behavior. Being from the same family, a mother, a son, a father, a daughter, they all can be four different individuals. It is not necessary that if we are in the same family, we all think alike. We all can think different. What keeps us binded together is probably the family glue, the traditions, the values. But these individual perceptions are different, and they get influenced by different people. I have a client who's today in US, and he's working in an IT, very good profile, very, very good profile. But he came to me because he's suffering from anxiety. severe anxiety disorder. And the reason is because he hates his job. And he's been in that for the last 9 years. And he hates it. And he said, I have made a compromise with this. I used to hate myself for what I do, but today I've learned to forgive myself and accept and come to a compromise that I have to only do this job for the next 10 years because I have 2 daughters, I have my responsibilities. So after 10 years, I'm going to leave it. But what happens to him in those 10 years? And what made him decide that he has to stick to hating himself every day for the next 10 years? His perception that he is responsible for his daughter's marriage, and they have these traditions where they have to give a dowry for the daughter, so he has to earn more. But what happens to him as an individual when he goes through this? There is no love for self. There is this unrelentful choice that he's made, which is for his daughters, which is for his family, which is for his traditions, which is for his society. And in that process, what he's done is he's just lost himself. These are his words, I've just lost myself. We form these individual perceptions and then we suffer with guilt. That's when you lose yourself, right? Because you're guilty. You feel this guilt even when you're doing something good for somebody. You feel this guilt. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, you're full of regrets. You're full of guilt. And that guilt comes from nothing else but these choices that you've made. And you are still sticking to them, knowing that they make you guilty, knowing that they make you feel this pain. You still stick to them. What makes you stick to them? Because you've lost your own identity in the roles that you've put yourself to play in life. A mother, a wife, a daughter, a husband, a professional, whatever it is, a caretaker of the society, of the religion, whatever it is, whatever roles you've given yourself, you identify yourself only with those roles and you lose your own self-identity. Who am I? Who am I? When I ask people this question, and I want to ask you this question, and I want you to write down in that piece of paper which you have, who are you? Just write down, who are you? Who am I?
We're on the same wavelength today. I just posted something about this. Who are you?
Who am I? And whatever you're writing, just check how many of those are in roles. Are you defining yourself as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter? Then you were just talking about the roles that you play. That's not your identity. What is your identity? Who am I? I'm a girl. I'm a woman. I'm a man. I'm a boy. We forget that identity. We are those roles, no longer a human being. How will I love myself if I don't know who am I? I love myself as a mother, hence I do everything to become a good mother. My individual perception of what a good mother is. My individual perception of what a good husband is or for what a good wife is. And I become that role and I live that role. And then I lose myself and I am only that role. And then when I make choices and I regret because I made choices based on the roles. When I am in this role as a wife, I'm making choices as a wife is supposed to make, as a good wife is supposed to make. And when I step out of it, when I'm laying down in that bed, I'm no longer thinking myself as a wife, but as myself. And then I look at those choices, I regret them. I'm not happy. Because now I'm no longer a wife. That time I'm me. Mostly we have these thoughts either in bed or when we are in the shower when we are sitting down with a cup of coffee, because that time we are not playing any role. So who am I? Answer this question for yourself. Answer this question by identifying what are those things which you like to do? What are those things which you love to do? I love to read. I love to write. I love listening to music. I love writing poetry. I'm a person who loves going out, exploring new places. I am a person who loves to go out on road trips because I love to travel. Who am I? Identify that. Because if you only keep identifying yourself with the roles, there is nothing that you can love about yourself beyond those roles. You don't have a list. You don't have anything to love yourself. Find out things about yourself that will make you love yourself. Find out that one thing, even at least that one thing that you love to do, even if it is cooking, baking, whatever it is. Not as a mother, I love to cook because I love to feed my child. No, I love to cook because I love to cook. That's it. There are no reasons attached with it. That's my passion. That's something which I love to do, irrespective of who's eating, who's not. Yes, I love it when my children enjoy it, but that's not the criteria for me to go and cook. Disassociate all those things which you have associated with your actions. What you do should be for you. And if you are not comfortable with that, then think what you need to change so that you become comfortable. Don't just think about giving it up, but how do I change? How do I adjust? How do I put it in such a way that I'm happy and I'm still doing the things that I need to do? We don't always have to give up things to become happy. Sometimes we can make those minor adjustments to become happy. So work on your pattern of thinking. A few tips that I would like to leave now with. First, answer the question, who you are, and then accept that. Whether you have done it in the last 8 years, 10 years or not, irrespective of that, it doesn't matter, because if you've not done it before, you will do it today. So just accept yourself, identify who you are, and then accept, okay, this is me. I love to read. So on a daily basis, I am going to give myself 1 hour to read. I am going to give myself the liberty to read, even if it is 1 page, even if it is 1 paragraph, even if it is 2 lines. It doesn't matter. Stop putting those limitations that if I cannot give myself, an hour of uninterrupted time when I can read, I won't read. Sticking to your decision for yourself, that's one of the biggest thing that you can do for yourself, and change this pattern. How do you change this pattern? If I am saying that I'm going to give myself every day this time to be myself, then I have to stick to it. If I don't get the time, I'll take out, even if it is 10 minutes. I'll delay my bedtime by 10 minutes. I'll give myself those 10 minutes. But I have to stick to that. Yes, forgiving myself. What do I need to do to forgive myself? Nothing. You just need to choose to forgive yourself. That's all you need to do. Because whatever has happened in the past, it has happened. You can't go back to your past and change anything. But starting today, you can change the way you look at your future and you choose your future to be. And that cannot happen if you carry the guilt of your past. What you did yesterday is finished. What you do today is what matters. So if you do not forgive yourself for your past choices, your today will be the same as your past, because you're still looking at your past. It's a very simple thing. If I keep looking at my past and I'm walking in the future, I'm just going to repeat my past in my future. That's what we do. We look at those choices which we made in the past, we regret them. And then tomorrow we make the same choice and we regret again. And then day after tomorrow, we make the same choice and we regret again. We stay in this pattern. So whatever it is that you've done, just accept, all right. I accept that I did it. I accept that I made these choices. I accept that I made these decisions. I accept it. But starting today, I am going to change these decisions. I am no longer going to make the same decisions. Starting today, I accept who I want to become. I accept this is who I have been, and this is who I want to become. Only then can you forgive yourself. If you don't have anything to look in the future apart from regrets, you carry the pattern of guilt into your future. But if you have possibilities, that's when you can forgive yourself. So find those possibilities in your future. Because when you find those possibilities and you take even one small single action, you forgive yourself for that one time. You start getting out of the pattern of guilt. And you take that action of moving into self-forgiveness. Thinking has to always be supplemented with actions. Mere thinking doesn't change anything in life. Once we think, we have to act. Because when this rusted machinery starts action, in the initial time, because it is rusted, it will be a bit difficult, it will be a bit scratchy, it will be a bit, bit of a struggle to do it. But once the machinery goes rolling, things will start smoothing out. Be patient with yourself. Most important thing about self-love. Most important thing about self-love. Don't wait anybody else to come and appreciate you. Don't wait for anybody else to come and say, you did this good. This food was amazing. Or this work was amazing. Or thank you for making my bed. Thank you for putting my clothes in. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting those papers on my desk. Thank you for filing the report on time. If you've done something, appreciate yourself. Acknowledge yourself. Be your own priority. We have this question, how can I not feel guilty about giving love to everybody else? Putting others before myself. You cannot, you'll always feel guilty. If you've always put others before you, you will always have a half empty cup, which will keep on getting emptier and emptier and emptier. The more you give, the more you give, the more you give. And when do we get into anxiety? When do we get into depression and frustration and this guilt and forgiveness? Is when that cup is empty and we are now scratching the walls to give to others. There's nothing in us and we have to scrape things out of us so that we can fill others' cup with love. But every time you scrape, you injure yourself. And with so many injuries inside you, how do you expect to be happy? So be your own priority. Because when you become your priority, then you become others' priority too. When you treat yourself with respect, people will look at you with respect, talk to you with respect. When you stop putting yourself down, people will stop doing the same with you. Without self-love, there is nothing. So reconnect with yourself. When I say reconnect, I want you to just look back at the last 10 years. Just reflect. Usually people say that I have not done anything in the last 10 years. I have, most of the time, we see this from stay-at-home moms, that I had a career and I gave it up, and in the last 10 years I've not done anything. And I say, what a lie. Because you were just a professional 10 years back. Today, you are somebody who's got leadership skills, who's got managerial skills, who has built up so many skills and competencies. Look at the time as a mother, the things that you've done in your life, the decisions that you've taken, the strength which you have, the things which you have done with your kids, the way it has made you a strong individual, a strong person, that today alone, maybe things which you were not able to do 10 years back, today alone, without the support of anybody, you can do, because that motherhood has given you that strength. So reflect on your 10 years. Reflect all those mistakes that you made and the learnings that you had from those mistakes. Reflect on all those decisions that you've made. Reflect on all those things which you've done, the good things, the bad things, whatever it is, and see your own self. See your own growth. Because what you see as lack is actually self-growth. It's your perspective, because you are seeing what I lost, but you are not seeing what you've gained. You're not seeing the growth which has happened in your decision-making skills, in your time management skills. You're not seeing those things. So just reflect, reconnect, see your growth, see where you've come from, what you were 10 years before to what you are today. Today, you can handle 10 things at a time. Today, you can actually take care of so many people's needs. Come on, that's such a huge skill. How many people do you know of who can actually keep so many people in one place and fulfilled? Those managerial skills, come on. Those decisions which you've made, which you had made, which you've made in the last 10 years, what did they teach you? Reflect on those things and see how good your decision making has become today and how quick you can make them now. Things which you had to earlier ponder over for hours, today you can decide in minutes. So see your growth. See yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and see yourself as the person that you've become, and more choose on what you want to become, not what you wear. The more you are stuck with what you wear, the more your life is filled with regrets, and that life doesn't make you love yourself any better. If you want to love yourself, make yourself your priority. That's where I'd like to end this discussion, this conversation, and I'm so thankful to all of you for participating, for speaking, for sharing your views. And if you need any help from me, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can check out my social media channels for more content out there on a lot of things which is related to mindset, which thinking patterns. Or you can check out my YouTube channel on which you'll find certain videos which are there, which may be helpful to you. I open this forum for any questions that you have. Thank you, Fariza. Thank you so much for coming in, voicing things. And please come back, open up your mics. Let's have a conversation. If you're interested, let's just speak for a couple of minutes before we close this.
Thank you, Nahid. You're such a mind wizard. And I love what you share. And I know you do it from your heart. And you're truly an amazing woman that really inspires
You're a
so
mind
many.
reader.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much.
You helped make some things clear to me. Things that I've always known is there. It's just that, like we were just messaging privately with Anamika. I have to put my foot down on things that is for me. What I love. Thank you for reminding me. Who am I? Because I just wrote down a whole list of. Yeah, it sounds cheeky, but that was me. I've forgotten that I was cheeky. I forgot that I was spunky. I've forgotten all those. Like you said, it was like 10 years ago. I had to jog a little bit. But yeah, I think along the way I've lost myself because I've forgotten all those. So I guess if I just um, yeah, put my foot down and do something for myself of what I was for myself, perhaps tomorrow moving forward will be better.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be too many big steps, Frieza. You can just start one small step at a time. 10 minutes of the day for yourself. It
Yes.
doesn't matter.
10 minutes. That'd be a luxury. But let's start. Thank you.
Yes. See, it's you who can make that priority list. It's you
Yeah.
who can make that time. Because you are the one who does that time management, right? So you're taking out that 10 minutes for yourself. It's all right. Take that 10 minutes away from your kids and give it to yourself. You won't regret it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Helena, too.
Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. That's strength.
Absolutely. That takes a lot of courage.
Been hard on myself. Yeah. Thank Joy also, my husband, for insisting that, you have to do this. You have to speak and listen tonight. Because I think I've been scaring him a little bit lately about losing myself. I kept asking him, like, I forgot who I am. I keep saying that. And then suddenly you came up with this topic and said, you must sit down. I'll look after the kids. You sit down. So, yeah.
Yes,
That's
I have
wonderful.
realized most of the time, see, it's we who are afraid of, taking the back seat.
Yeah.
And we're more than happy to take charge of things because
Yeah.
make us happier and our family as a whole happier.
True, true. It's like I said just now, it's us who've been hard on ourselves. All the time, if not most of the time, I have good support, but it's me. I have to do this for myself. It's me who's been unkind to myself, you know. So yeah, thank you for knocking that in.
Fariza, I have always been somebody who's, I would say I had this OCD kind of a thing that the dishes can't be in the sink before I go to bed, and I have to wash the clothes, and I have to pick them up in the evening. My clothes are lying out for 2 days now. I don't bother. If I don't get the time, it's all right. I'll pick it up when I have the time. If the dishes are there in the sink and it's late at night, by the time I'm free and I'm tired, I'll wash them in the morning. We have
True,
to give ourselves this flexibility.
true, true.
Give yourself that flexibility. Take those 10 minutes out for yourself. I take out half an hour. Now I've started doing it at almost 1.5 hours before I go to bed. I watch something which I love to do. I used to love watching Friends back home, back that time in college. I started watching that and I love it,
Yes,
you know. So reconnect. It's, as I said, it can be the minutest of things. It doesn't matter. Don't think it has to be something big. Something as small as just, watching a movie which you had watched 10 years back or
yeah,
12 years
that's a good
back.
idea.
Just do something like that. Just reconnect with who you were then. It
Yeah,
can be anything. Listening to those songs which you used to listen back home, back in college.
true.
Keep that spirit with you at all times.
Yes. Thanks for the reminder.
My pleasure. Manju, you'd like to say something?
Well, all I can say that if you ask me to define self-love, I can't even do that because it doesn't exist on my list. If you talk about list of, if it's last on the list, it's not even last on my list. It's just doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I took this opportunity to just listen and absorb as much as I could from what everyone shared. I think if you ask me to make a list of your self doubts, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Yeah.
ask me to make a list of things about yourself that you love, it'll take so much thinking.
No, it won't. Believe me, it won't. Give me half an hour of your time and I'll change that pattern.
Yeah, super. I would love that. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely taking away a lot to think about, which I
Mhm.
have not because my priorities were totally different. What were the patterns? That's something also that needs thought. I'll need to think about it. So there's so much for me to take from here. Not enough to say right now, but thank you so much, everyone. It was superb. It was
Awesome.
really
Awesome.
thought provoking. I can't say I'm even going ready to what I'm going to do next, but I'm just going to think about everything that I heard today You know,
That's
that's
enough. That's enough for your brain to have some food for
yes,
thought. Give it some food for thought so that it starts burping.
all of
All the
you.
best to us.
Thanks. Yeah, and happy Women's Day. What a lovely way to start. Thank you. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. Happy Women's Day. Yes, Helen, please, before going, are you leaving?
I'm leaving. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. It was beautiful
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Thanks, Helen.
And
Thank you so much for coming.
this was a great hour and 15 minutes.
Yes.
Imagine if you do this every week.
Oh, I'll be much healthier up here.
Yeah.
Thank you, lovely Nahid, for arranging this. And I hope to have a follow-up because there's
Inshallah.
other
That'd be
things than
lovely.
self-love. There's self-doubt, like Manoj
Yeah.
said here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
one on
We should
self doubt.
speak more.
Nice.
Maybe I'll do it very soon. I'll
I
do it.
know
Yes.
you will.
Please.
Thank you. I'll certainly do it very soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day,
Thanks,
everybody.
Helen.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Poonam, you'd like to say something or you're off?
I think she's off.
I
Bye,
think
everyone.
she's off.
Happy Women's Day.
Maybe
All
I'll try
right.
to connect with
Happy
you.
Women's Day.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I'll try to connect with you. Is it
Anytime, Manju. Yes, absolutely. If you want, your email is there. I'll send you across my contact details.
okay? Thank you.
My pleasure, Manju.
Teresa, enjoy the new beginning.
Same to you.
Thank
Yes, I'm making that self-doubt list too, and then I'm going to contra it with who am I list. So we can do it.
Yes, certainly. I'll come back to you guys on self-doubt. I'll
Yes,
certainly come
please
back to
do.
that. I will.
Please
I
do.
will.
I'll
Certainly.
see you again, Manju.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Bye.
Bye.